Hey, this is Jim with Dieselgeek, and today we're going to go over the assembly of the new Sigma shifter. This is the new easy version that we're releasing for 2021. So the first step that you're going to do is you're going to install the nut bar on the front to back cable end. This is the front to back bracket right here. And so you just get the nut bar and put it, match it up to the little ridges on the back of the cable end, and then turn it over to where the engraving is facing up. And just put the little Allen screws in and just get them started. Do one end and then the other. It's probably a good idea. And then just get them started. And then just with a little driver, you can just run them in all the way down. To where the heads are up against the cable end. And one thing I'm going to mention about the holes on the cable ends is they're threaded for 6mm by 1.0, which is bigger than the screws that I provide. And the reason is I provide a 6mm screw that you can screw into one of the holes, and all of them are threaded. You screw it into the holes, not all the way, and then we also provide a thin washer. And the thin washer you just put in there like that, and then you can run the 6mm screw up to it, and then if you tighten the screw, it stretches open. This is a stretching mechanism. It stretches open the slit. That makes it easy for the cable end to slide in and out if it's a little bit large. There are some MQB cars with Chinese cables that have a little bit larger diameter cables, and they don't fit too well. It's very rare, but anyway, we have a stretching mechanism that allows you to install a oversized cable. You can also use the stretching mechanism to remove the shifter. If you ever need to remove it, it helps you remove the shifter. So anyway, moving on to the side-to-side bracket. This is the bell crank, side-to-side bell crank. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the pivot pin. This is the pivot pin, and it goes in the little recess right here, 1/2-inch recess, and we provide this little flanged lock nut, and you just thread the flanged lock nut on, and then with a 1/2-inch ratchet you tighten the the nut, and you can back it up on a flat surface just to tighten it up. We also provide the two pivot bushings, 1JO pivot bushings, and those will help you install it in the pivot tube on the transmission. So the next step is to find, you have the 10mm and 8mm pins, and you can thread the 10mm pin in, and we put Loctite in both this hole and this hole. So you go ahead and thread those in, and just go as far as you can by hand on both of those pins. You can't swap them, you can't get it wrong, because one's 8 and one's 10. So once you've done that, you switch your ratchet over to a 14mm or 9/16. The pivot nut is 1/2-inch. 13mm will work, but it is a 1/2-inch. So on here, 14mm or 9/16, and you just tighten it, and tighten both of them down. And then once you get them tight, you can go ahead and snug them up the rest of the way on a flat surface like so, and the Loctite will do the rest of the work. So on the pivot pin, on the slider pin, you're going to just put the slider on, and it just slips on, and it'll probably be a tighter fit than that. So anyway, on the front to back pin, on the cable end pin, you're going to, that's where the cable end goes. We have a prior video that shows how to remove the guts out of the cable end, your stock cable end, and the SIG-certs. These are the two SIG-certs that install into the side-to-side cable end, and they're kind of it's kind of a snug fit. So you got to get them started and then push them in, and then they go on the cable end pin and are held on by the shiny metal clip, like so. And there's just no slop in there whatsoever. So once you've done that, you've gotten the shifter ready for install, and we'll move on to the install.